That said, it's pretty close both ways.
Well, we're going to join this one in progress. You see Ravitz has a couple copies of Underworld Connections on the battlefield. However, Sparkman has quite a few cards in play. Whip of Erebos, a Desecration Demon, a couple copies of Grey Merchant. Looks like Grey Merchant was whipped back. And looks like Sparkman has a few cards in hand as well. So Ravitz may be under the gun here a little bit. We might be headed to a third game as he does take a draw, and he's going to pick up his permanents, not finding what he's looking for. So Jeremy Sparkman able to tie things up here, which means we can turn our attentions to the sideboards for these players. Looks like Ravitz is going to be on the play for game number 3. So I will take a look at 3 Staff of the Death Magus, a Primeval Bounty, a Dark Betrayal, 2 Doomblades, 2 Golgari Charms, 2 Erebos God of the Dead, a Vrask of the Unseen, and 3 Duress. Pretty run-of-the-mill stuff here.
Yeah, a lot of things you'd want in the matchup. Erebos, great. Duress, great. Remember, that's generally the game plan. Dark Betrayal's, of course, good against a black deck. There's some interesting choices, and we'll see how many of them Ravitz decides to use. I think Primeval Bounty is probably just too expensive for this matchup. He can board one in, but it will probably just end up eating a Thoughtseize or a Duress. Other cards, he has, I think Vraska may actually be fine. It's another way to remove an Underworld Connections here. I doubt we'll see Golgari Charm. It can blow up an enchantment, but that's all it does. While Underworld Connections is important, I don't know if it's important to just board in a spell that's as narrow as Golgari Charm.
On the other side of things, Sparkman with a Dark Betrayal, 1 Devour Flesh, 4 copies of Doomblade, 3 Pharika's Cure, 2 Erebos God of the Dead, and 4 Duress. Pretty run-of-the-mill stuff for Mono Black Devotion.
Yeah, we saw a similar sideboard like this out of Owen Turtenwald. Basically, in this matchup, you want the Erebos, you want the Duress, you want the Dark Betrayal.
Now, one thing to keep in mind here, you take a look at Sparkman's sideboard. If he's able to win this third game against Ravitz, you have to imagine he likes his matchup against Mono Red in the finals with 3 copies of Pharika's Cure.
Well, it's going to be better than what Owen had. The good part for Resendez is that this is, once again, no Drown in Sorrows in either player's sideboard. That card, I think, really the biggest beating against the red deck.
Again, I'm not too surprised. I'm not too surprised by that choice by a lot of the Black Devotion players this weekend. These low-to-the-ground aggro decks really haven't been a thing. They're few and far between. Yes, we did see 2 mono-black aggro and 1 mono-red aggro deck in Providence last weekend, but that has obviously not swung the pendulum enough for these players to include that infest effect.
Yeah, that said, I would, even though Sparkman has the better sideboard, if you're Resendez, you probably would rather be playing that, simply because if you look at the seeding right now, Jeremy Sparkman's the 8 seed, and while Resendez was the 7 going into the top 8, this would be the only time he'd get to be on the plays if he plays Sparkman in the finals. And really, that's matchup. I think you can't underestimate how important winning the die roll is for it.
That's not to say Ravitz doesn't have any good cards against the deck either. Staff of the Death Magus is perfectly reasonable in that matchup. It's a little bit slow, but, you know, and he's not playing against exactly Burn. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. At least gives him something to do. You know, he does have Doomblades. Golgari Charm is pretty good there as well. So he's got some options, but I like what Sparkman has access to. Whichever one of these players makes the finals, I still think they have a rough road ahead, no matter what.
I mean, Ravitz has... He has keyed in a bit to taking care of aggro decks. You know, those Golgari Charms, I have to imagine, were great in his quarterfinals matchup against Mono Black aggro, but that deck has a lot more X1s than Red has. And, you know, Staff of the Death Magus, good against Burn. So he's got something for, you know, a small end aggro deck. He's got something for a red deck, but for a red small deck, he's still a little ill-equipped from the matchup.
Well, both players are going to shuffle up. We'll get ready for game number 3. Of course, after this is over, we will announce the winner of our 6-month premium giveaway this morning. And we do appreciate you guys joining us early this morning from Columbus, Ohio at the Origins Game Fair. Cedric Phillips, Matthias Hunt, and Patrick Sullivan, along with Nick Miller and Andrew Schrott on the sideboard. It is the StarCityGames.com Open Series featuring our Season 2 Invitational. Those elimination rounds will begin at noon. I know everybody's excited for that, to see who is going to win that trophy and that $10,000, along with punching their ticket to the Players' Championship and their likeness on a token. Some pretty good prizes there. At SCG Live, hashtag SCGINVI for your tweets all weekend long. It's been fun interacting with you on Twitter and social media, watching some insane games of Magic. Apparently, I missed one with Turtenwald in the quarterfinals against Matthew Hoey.
Yeah, he's not the champion, but I think he's got the best game win so far of the day, and it's going to be hard to top.
Yeah, it's early. It's early, but given what I have heard and read, it looks like ONT pulled off a pretty nice one there against Matt Hoey. But we have watched a lot of fantastic Magic over the course of this week, and the Invitational, of course, very, very high caliber of play. It was a blast to watch all 16 rounds of that. Of course, we did cover a little bit of our Standard Open last night, and now we're finishing it up here this morning. And again, we do have a Legacy Open to take care of later today. We'll crown 3 champions, give away a whole bunch of money. punch a ticket to the Players' Championship, and 2 players are going to be really happy with how Season 3 has started off for them as they work their way towards the Players' Championship.
Yeah, this is both Joshua Ravitz, Owen Turtenwald. Those are players who play, well, Turtenwald in particular, someone who plays a lot of opens and could make a run on the points board. Ravitz, based in Washington, I believe.
Yeah, he's in the corner with me out there in Seattle.
Doesn't get a chance to play too many opens, so he's going to really have to count on big finishes like this if he wants to make the Players' Championship.
Yeah. Again, Washington State champion from the Star City Games State Championship programs is Josh Ravitz. Was able to take it down with Black-Green Devotion, so he's very familiar with this archetype. Worked on this some with Jerry Thompson. That's where you'll find the Primeval Bounty from. Jerry T. always been a big fan of that card. Ravitz adopting that, saying it was very good at the state championship tournament. And he's running it back here to obviously some success.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if he uses it in a matchup like this. I think, you know, if you get the card down, it seems really excellent in this matchup. I just don't know how much you can play a 6-mana non-creature spell. But like I said, it's powerful to be sure.
Ravitz going to send it back. There were no lands in that hand. Sparkman going to take a look. Saw a Mutavault. Not sure if he's happy, but it looks like he may be. So Ravitz going to send it back to 6 as Sparkman does keep his 7.
It's all about making it through that initial slog in a mono black mirror. You know, generally no card tends to be safe at the beginning of the match. As we saw before, there's a bunch of thought seizing and duressing that happens on the first few turns. It has slowed down a bit as the decks have moved away from their reliance on Packrat. So now we may see, you know, more proactive threats. Maybe some players actually get to keep some cards going on to turn 3, but still it's the matchup where you'd rather keep a hand with some lands and top deck the relevant card.
We did make some big announcements this weekend, one of which was SCG Game Night at participating stores. Pretty cool thing we're doing in September.
Yeah, so what this is that at any participating store on Wednesday night can become SCG Game Night. And what that means is that the tournament will get additional support in getting pins and foil tokens each week, and not just the same art. You can get this adorable looking squirrel, but each month we'll be coming out with a new pin and a new foil that you can win. And this is every Wednesday. Just have to talk to the owners of your store, get them to participate in this, and starting in September, you can be part of Game Night as well.
StarCityGames.com/Game Night or Game Night at StarCityGames.com for your emails. You can find out more information about this. I know a lot of people are excited about making every Wednesday night SCG Game Night, as Ravitz is going to continue shuffling up here. He's going to lay out his 6 cards, see if he can find something to keep. He has at least 1 land. You see a Connections. There are 2 lands over there. I'm not sure you can ask for much more. Going to lead off with a Guildgate and pass the turn over to Sparkman. We'll see if Sparkman does have a discard spell to fire off, just a swamp, so the answer is no. Ravitz will take a draw. It's a copy of Erebos. There is a swamp for Josh, along with a Packrat. So Sparkman has some answering to do right away.
Yeah, he's not out of the woods yet. He doesn't have that 3rd land, but if he can find a 3rd land, then he would get a chance to stick this Connections, which would be pretty big for him.
Well, he found a 3rd land. It just does not come into play untapped, and this is part of the problem with splashing, even though you do get access to some very powerful cards.
I think he might pay a price for this. He's going to get his Connections thought seized away because his land didn't come into play untapped.
You do see the Connections that Matthias does speak of, along with a Hero's Downfall, an Erebos, and an Abrupt Decay. If you're Josh, there is one thing to be happy about. You do have a backup card drawing engine in Erebos. It is a little bit more painful, but at least you have one.
Yeah, there's a lot of options Jeremy can take here. He can take the Connections. That's the obvious play. But then again, Erebos could resolve if he takes that. This is his last chance to get Erebos, so you may want to take Erebos. Also, he could just take Abrupt Decay and clear the way for his own Connections. A lot of choices. He's going to go ahead and take Ravitz's Connections to start with. And in the case that Ravitz doesn't top deck a land, that's certainly the best card.
We didn't top deck a land, but he did top deck an Underworld Connection, so not so bad there for Ravitz, as he will pass the turn back over to Sparkman. Sparkman does draw a card. You see a Packrat over there in the hand, a 2nd Mutavault here. Looks like we might have a Connections, and we do, and it's on a Mutavault. Now that's a little bit interesting because that kind of shuts that Mutavault off.
Yeah, I mean, just shut the Mutavault off. It's unfortunate for Sparkman that he had to make that play, but you want to get it down. So this is one of the interesting situations where both players get to have Underworld Connections.
Or so you thought.
Or so you think. I mean, Sparkman knew it was going to get blown up. He knew about the Abrupt Decay there.
And he gets 1 draw off of it. Looks like Sparkman did draw a copy of Whip of Erebos here. Ravitz was able to find a land off of his Underworld Connections activation, so he's starting to work his way back into this game off of that mulligan. Did not get his hand shredded too badly, and was a timely top deck of another Underworld Connections after that Thoughtseize. Sparkman with the Connections on his Mutavault again, simply going to pass the turn back. Ravitz draws a copy of Golgari Charm. That'll take care of Connections again. This is why the green splash in this deck is quite appealing.
and he hits the land. So he can make an Erebos here. He's going to go ahead and just make Erebos over Underworld Connections. And when they're in this Connections fight, here's where Ravitz is quite the favorite. He has the Erebos, and on top of that, he has the ability to answer Connections.
Packrat going to come into play here for Sparkman.
I'd like to play from Sparkman. I don't think he's going to win this card advantage war, especially not with his opponent having Erebos and green cards. So when you're losing the card advantage war in this matchup, you generally just have to start winning the aggro war. Sparkman doing just that. With having 2 Mutavaults in play, these Packrats are they represent a lot of damage.
Ravitz is taking a look right now at a Hero's Downfall Gagari Charm. He's also got a Devour Flesh, and he picked up a copy of Grey Merchant of Asphodel. He's got some real decisions to make here. Packrat can put you under the gun. He does have removal for the card, of course, but he's got a real decision to make about how he wants to navigate this game now. He has a Connections in play he can activate. He can, of course, activate Erebos. I think that's on the last check line of his list. I don't think he wants to do that. He could turn Erebos on with Grey Merchant, you know, drain it for 5, gain 5 life, get in with a 5/7. Not sure if that's the plan as well. So I imagine this will be the turn where he takes some time to figure out exactly what he wants to do. He'll begin by activating Underworld Connections. That's a copy of Abrupt Decay.
Big draw. We'll see where he chooses to go from here. He can try to kill both rats. He can lead off on a Devour Flesh. If he gets both rats off the board, you have to like his situation.
Sparkman could have activated Underworld Connections. He chose not to. It would have put the shields down. Ravitz could have just used 2 removal spells to take care of the rats. So smart play there by Sparkman. And Ravitz has got to work his way through this Packrat army now. Sparkman does play a 6th land, and it looks like he's headed into the red zone. So he wants to be aggressive. An Abrupt Decay from Josh will take care of 1.
No true sweeper on Josh's side, and Sparkman pretty cleverly playing right now so that he gets to keep his Packrats. He knows how valuable this card is.
He's got to be aggressive at this point. Going to discard Underworld Connections. We'll see if Ravitz has a response here in this situation.
Aggressive discard. He knows that Ravitz has ways to blow up enchantments. Sparkman, I think, is showing very remarkable commitment to Packratting now. Yeah,
this is the plan.
Yeah,
that's what it feels like to me.
This is the plan. Every card he's drawing now is a Packrat.
He says, I'm going to activate my Mutavault. That's going to die Devour Flesh. You're going to end up taking 2. Ravitz is going to have to untap here. We'll take a draw. That's a swamp, which isn't so bad.
I like Sparkman's line. I think he's really correctly figured out what's important here. What Ravitz is going to have to do back is draw his own Packrat and start Packratting back. Usually you don't want to be the second guy Packratting. It's not normally a winning formula. Ravitz still can fight Packrats by Grey Merchanting Sparkman out, but Packrat does damage really fast, so Josh is going to have to get some Grey Merchants quickly here.
What this looks like to me is it's time for Ravitz to get his beat down on. That's what it looks like to me, as he does play Grey Merchant, and now he's going to attack here. We'll see if Sparkman has a Devour Flesh to blow this up. The answer is no. So Ravitz a little drain, a little gain. Now Sparkman's going to take a huge hit in the face as well. So Ravitz again has a couple of removal spells and a land in his hand. He's got his opponent down to 6. The life total is quite low for Sparkman. He might have to slow down with this Packrat game plan.
He'd love to slow down. I don't think he can afford to stop hitting. When he stops attacking is when he starts losing. But you're absolutely right that I'm not sure his attacks get there anymore.
One thing Sparkman has in his hand is a Grey Merchant of Asphodel, which in a lot of situations will be pretty good, but this one's not it. So he has to discard that to Packrat because Erebos is in the way. He's going to attack here with 2 3/3 rats. Ravitz is going to shrug his shoulders. I'd be surprised if we do see a block, and it doesn't look like we're going to. So Ravitz will take 6. He's going to go down to 14. He will take a draw. It's another copy of Grey Merchant. That might be the check mark here for Josh.
That should be lethal here with that second Grey Merchant. I was going to say, yeah, he's just going to go for it right away.
It's a good place to lead off, of course. As you play that, you drain your opponent for 5. You gain 5. You put him down to 1. Now Erebos can rumble into the red zone again. Packrat will be forced to block. You see Ravitz says, I will attack your Packrat because you have to block.
It's going to be hard for Sparkman here. That second Grey Merchant really took a toll on him.
It's a great magic card. And Sparkman's going to untap again. His whip and his Grey Merchant. Normally that lifelink plays such a huge role, but Erebos greater than sign, both of those. That's what's causing the problem here. Not to mention, it's attacking as well. So Sparkman's plan of moving to Packrat certainly made a lot of sense at the time, but Ravitz's Erebos was able to blow up everything he was trying to do. And as you see Packrat and friends come into the red zone, it's going to be a discard of 2 cards Sparkman is going to deal 8 points of damage. Ravitz is going to draw a card. He's going to quickly untap. He's going to show a Hero's Downfall to kill one rat. He'll attack with the others, and he is moving on to the finals. Joshua Ravitz, the Washington State champion, on to the finals to try to beat Mono Red.
Yeah, it looks like that first